Hey guys, Jack and welcome back. So after quite a heavy hidden topic in the previous video, I thought I'd decide to go back to a bit of a tier list, a bit of a fun one as well. This time we're doing the Streets Won't Forget team, or not really team, tier list. So these are players that are notorious in the Premier League for the various reasons, maybe how good they were, how bad they were, or just generally from the list I curated of just being ballers. I'm going to go through my list. I'm going to try to be as quick as I possibly can because just like you, I don't want to listen to my voice either. So we have 5 different categories. We have the Streets We'll Never Forget, Premier League icons, ballers, just generally. Can take or leave them, they're good, but I can, they'll leave my mind from time to time, and not for me, Clive. So first up is Juninho and Ravanelli, and back in the 90s, they were the dream team for Middlesbrough. I believe it was 96, I think. And they just kind of, the two of them go down in history as being like one of the ultimate parents. They could have been their own individuals, especially Juninho being kind of a club icon for Middlesbrough in the Premier League. For me, I'm not too familiar with their impact. I know of it, so I'm going to go with just ballers. They didn't really leave a lasting impact, I don't think. Next is Michu. Talk about an excellent one-season wonder. Came to Swansea for I think 2.5 million. Just scored, I think it was 17 goals in the league, and was generally one of the best kind of debut seasons for a striker before Holland, of course. For me, I think he is a Premier League icon. I don't think he hits that top tier just because of how much he fell off, but what a baller he was, and really a shame how his career ended through injury. Next is Sebastian Larsson, who had an excellent career. I think started off at Arsenal, but then moved on to Birmingham, Hull and Sunderland for his later season. And he was just excellent. I read a description about him was that Sebastian Larsson walked so James Ward-Prowse can run, and I think that kind of sums him up as an icon of the Premier League. Excellent set piece taker, particularly at corners he just did really well. I think he helped Sunderland in particular stay up. It was really a shame, and I think he's still playing, or he just retired. He went over to AIK in Sweden, but just what a baller. Next is Guy. I remember this guy, watching him with Blackburn, just class personified by the Turkish midfielder, and I would say he's a baller, really. I don't recall him so much as being an icon, but he was just excellent. Dimitri Payet, I know for West Ham fans, he was excellent, and I remember watching. I think it was it Swansea. He scored that free kick for. He was just excellent, and then there was another free kick against. I think it was against Man City, and he just scored past Joe Hart, and Joe Hart was just like, what am I supposed to do? And while he was a baller, don't get me wrong, he was excellent. I can take or leave him, just kind of the way it ended with West Ham, how it faded for him, and he just he wasn't there long enough for me to kind of put him any higher. But I see how he's a baller, but in comparison to these three, just not there for me. Next is Yakubu, and I think I'm going to put him as a baller. In the Premier League with Portsmouth, Everton and Blackburn. A Nigerian forward who was just excellent, scored wherever he was. It's a shame he didn't get to 100 goals because I think he probably could have. And I just think he was an excellent forward. I just can't believe how well he did. And just kind of went under the radar really for how much of an impact he had. Just did really well. Next is Fabian Barthez. I just wanted to get a goalkeeper in there. I could probably take or leave him, but you can never argue with he was one of the first really eccentric goalkeepers. I could have probably put Pepe Reina in here as well, but for me, Barthez was just a bit of a nutcase, and coming off of losing Peter Schmeichel, and he was kind of their solution to him. Granted, we won't talk about Taibbi or Van der Goh, who was a solid second choice, by the way. For me, I just don't I can take or leave him, but seeing the iconic pulling up the shorts up to his groin for free kicks was a sight to see. And to mention that, we're gonna go with another. Again, he's probably a club icon, and definitely one of the best up there as a left back in the Streets Won't Forget 11 if you were to make one. But his free kicks were mad. He could whack a ball, and I think didn't he break someone's leg? Was it Alan Smith? He broke his leg. That's horrible, but it was iconic in a way. And he was just he was a brilliant left back, don't get me wrong. Wouldn't say world class, definitely an icon to Premier League. Yeah, I think I'm going to push him up. I know I'm pushing him up too, but sure. Adel Taarabt. Talk about a Streets Won't Forget baller. And I think that's what he was in the Premier League, a baller. Granted, for QPR fans and Championship fans, he was a class above. Clearly showed a lot of quality with QPR. Definitely didn't have a work rate, and I think that's kind of what you see with some of these players. Excellent number 10, was able to do anything on the ball, great trickery. And it's sad how much his career kind of dipped. He left QPR, went to AC Milan, failed there, and he ended up reviving his career a bit with Benfica, playing as like a defensive midfielder. I think he's in Turkey at the moment, but he was excellent, and I think it's really interesting. Next up is Ivan Campo. Just a weird signing it was Sam Allardyce's Bolton side, and I had to get someone from that group in. Very interesting. I think he was like 35 when he joined, and he had a solid season. I think, for a former Spanish international, Real Madrid, great. Like, you wouldn't expect him to show up at Bolton, at the Reebok. For me, I would say he's a bit of a baller. Just like he was only there for I think a season, but he left quite an impact. And I think it's the same with Daniel Sturridge. He suffered so much with injury, but in that season with Luis Suarez, he was unbelievable. Great partnership with him, and looked to have like the world at his feet. Looked like he was going to be one of England's next great strikers. And especially with Rooney kind of dropping back a bit, he seemed like the perfect replacement, but just never kind of happened for him. He had flashes of brilliance with Liverpool under Klopp, but a failed loan spell to West Brom. Went to Trabzonspor and then Perth, and obviously he had gambling issues over in Turkey, and he hasn't officially retired yet. But I can't not put him in the baller category. Just Hatem Ben Arfa. He is very much streets won't forget. I remember watching him in, I think it was 2011, 12 or 12, 13. Just was magic on the ball. I couldn't understand how someone could be so good and yet just kind of falter. The amount of talent he had, just didn't have a work rate really. And considering how much turmoil was going on in Newcastle, even at that stage under Pardew and Carver, McLaren, it just was mad. It was just a mad time, and it's a shit. And like again, he's had a decent career in France. I just think he could have achieved more, but I think in terms of the Premier League, you surely can't forget about him. Next is Graziano Pelle, and he's a take or leave him. He's again a bit like Yakubu, kind of the Yakubu light, where he wasn't with the best teams, but he was just like, he was at Southampton, and for 2 seasons he was a brilliant goal scorer. It reminds me a bit of Giroud, just good looking, tall forward who had great technical ability and was able to get his head onto everything. I was really impressed with him, and it was a shame that he went to China, when he did, but I can't fault him for wanting to earn the money that he was being offered, and I think he's back now in Italy. I'm just glad that he got to play in the Premier League and we got to see him. Next is Nico Kranjčar. Again, a bit of a take it or leave it. Again, an icon. Harry Redknapp's boy, really. Him and Peter Crouch they were Redknapp's followers, and he was a solid player, but as a footballer himself, I don't remember him. So the only reason I kind of have him in this second from below is just because of how iconic he was to the Premier League and to Harry Redknapp. Next is JJ Okocha, and definitely another streets won't forget. Joining Bolton when I think he came from PSG, and he just tore up the Premier League. Silky on the ball, just class personified. Nothing seemed to bother him. And just at Bolton, he just was magical. I can't describe it really, but if you ever had the privilege to look up his highlights, just watch him. They're really fun. And he even joined Hull for a season, which was quite random, and it didn't look right because I'm used to seeing him in the Bolton Reebok kit. But yeah, he was just brilliant. You see Jääskeläinen. I'm definitely putting him in a Premier League icon. Again, another goalkeeper wanted to get in. For me, when you think of Premier League, in the noughties, he is the goalkeeper. Him, Brad Friedel, Brad Friedel, Van der Sar, Schmeichel kind of, but honestly he is quintessential Premier League. And for, you know, he was a great goalkeeper. You can't fault that. He was just excellent. I felt like he could have probably gone and moved further up the field, like further up the table, but he just wasn't kind of glamorous enough. And he had such a long career playing at Bolton. Oh, where is he? Bolton, was he Wigan? And definitely, and then West Ham, certainly. But yeah, just brilliant. Yeah, Gordon's Pedersen. Again, another player I have a bit of an affiliation for. Just loved him when he played. Still playing in the second tier of Norway just for fun. He's 42 or 43 at this age. It's mad how he's still going on. And just the Norwegian was just, again, a bit like Two-Guy, kind of technique personified. Just an excellent right foot, brilliant delivery. And he just was something about him that just really captured everyone's hearts. Like, it was at a period of time where Blackburn were fun to watch. Whenever they were on TV, you was like, oh sure, I'll pop them on, because, you know, you see someone like him or Two-Guy or Nielsen just do something, or David Dunn if you've seen the Rabona. So yeah, he's gonna go in the Premier League. He's going into the streets. We'll never forget. The less that we said about Gabby Bungle, the better, especially with his TalkSport comments. Moussa Dembele, and this was the time where he was excellent at Fulham in, I think it was 2010-11, but then he moved to Tottenham, and I still don't think people realise kind of how brilliant he was technically. A midfielder, destroyer. I mean, he was, I think, 6'2", 6'3", just a huge guy, but just how delicate he was on the ball, how tricky he was. You couldn't kind of teach that really with someone of his size. It was unbelievable, and again, it was quite sad how his age did catch up with him and he wasn't as productive. But to see how well he did, and he unfortunately wasn't part of the Champions League final squad, but he was just unbelievable, and I think deserves to be in as a Premier League icon. Then this pairing, just we know, Demba and Papa Cisse, just excellent pair, and I'm sad. Again, it was sad that they weren't together for much longer, but they just clicked under Alan Pardew. Got Newcastle up to 5th in the table. I mean, they're icons for that reason alone. I mean, Newcastle definitely were lower mid-table quality, but just the two of them just clicked, and it was amazing. Next is Timmy Cahill. I think put him again as a Premier League icon. You know, the Australian he wasn't particularly tall, but he was brilliant in the air, had a character. His goal celebration, punching the corner flag, you just can't beat it. And lastly is Yannick Bolasie. And I think I'm going to put him as a baller. Again, it's a bit recency bias, but when I was watching him at Palace, just when they first came up into the Premier League, he was just brilliant. And his story is amazing, going from non-league up to the Premier League, and seeing that the Bolasie turn, you can't fault him. And I just really I'm just glad we got to see him. This is my tier list. Obviously, there's a few omissions and a few people I could have probably moved a bit further up, like Adel Taarabt, but I just didn't feel like he was there for me. He was a baller, don't get me wrong, but I just not have a good enough recollection of him. Probably that's my issue. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any ideas for content, please let me know. I'm more than happy to kind of do different things. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.